right. Hey, this is Jordan Blade, and you are checking out Three Count Podcast.
I'm in fashion,
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering Ring, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. That's right, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. By this time, you should be calling me what everyone else has been calling me, their Sherpa. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. And that's why this person can be found at Fight Pro, Invictus, Mission Pro, GCW, Beyond, PWM, Pizza Party Pro, PPW, and GSW. She is the ankle breaker, the submission sniper, the trap daddy, Jordan Blades.
Hey, what's going on, my man?
Yo, what is up, man? I'm so hyped to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, man. I just got home from the gym, so I'm coming down from that adrenaline high. And I'm coming straight on here. So thank you.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because we have a mutual friend in Justin Del Rio who has his own show, What Up Wrestler, and I saw you on his podcast and was like, I'm going to get her on the show one day and it will be awesome. And we just happened to cross paths at Fight, and I was like, this is the opportunity I need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just ran into Justin. I think that was the first time I met him in person this past Sunday at Beyond. So yeah.
Yeah, such a cool dude. He's mad chill. I love like talking to him, and we bullshit like all the time about like we run into similar wrestlers like all the time, and he obviously like being on the outside as a fan, like having his show one way, and then obviously like me having my show. But we always cross paths where we're like, hey, do you want to come be on my podcast? Yeah, and I'll go be on yours.
Yeah, right.
So just right off the jump, the first question I'm going to ask you is, who is Jordan Blades?
Man, so Jordan Blade is someone who is unapologetically herself, a queer Black female navigating professional wrestling with, just kind of bare bones, being again herself in this wrestling world, and I fight for my family. I fight for my wife, who is deployed right now, and our 9-year-old son, who looks up to the both of us. Hopefully, he does not want to be a professional wrestler, but. No, that would be cool. Yeah, so that's who Jordan Blade is in a nutshell. I am probably one of the toughest people you'll meet in this business. And that sounds very cocky, but you have to have an air of confidence about you as long as you keep it humble.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that, especially like in this sport, like to get to the top, like you got to have a couple things about you. One, you have to have screws loose, like just 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's not. I laugh about it because even my trainer will tell me, he's like, dude, it's not natural to tell yourself, hey, I'm gonna fall on this mat constantly and then get back up and then like pretend like it hurt more than it hurt, but know that it hurts. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and you'll hear veterans more. I mean, I don't even consider myself a veteran, but you'll hear veterans say that it's kind of like going through a car crash at about 30 miles per hour.
Yeah, I remember my mom was like, she was talking to me, and at one time I was trained to become a mixed martial artist, and she was like, once I told her I was becoming a professional wrestler, she's like, oh, good, you won't get hurt. I was like, I don't think you understand what you just said, but you're gonna learn real quick.
Yes, yeah. People think we don't get hurt. I mean, we have our bumps and bruises and things like that, and things we kind of train through that are like, normal, aches and pains and nagging pains and things like that. But like, I broke my ankle, in a match. So like, anything can happen, and a lot of these things, it doesn't have to be, or a lot of these injuries rather, it doesn't have to be the high risk things. I always go back to the example when Neville, I think, broke his ankle on, it might have been Raw or something like that, doing a baseball slide. I mean, it doesn't always have to be the, forget which one of the Lucha Brothers, doesn't always have to be the Lucha Brothers, going through a table and dislocating his shoulder or his elbow or whatever it was. It's
Yeah.
not always like that. It's always on the simple stuff.
Well, I mean, I've shared it so many times on the show. I tore my lower abdomen. I had a sports hernia doing a 3/4 roll, and it's just the littlest things that you just wouldn't expect, and it happens. And like,
Yeah.
it's weird. But I'm just curious, like, how did you get into the sport though?
Yeah, so I started training in 20, I have to think back now, 2015, which is the same year I graduated college. I was rehabbing an ACL injury that I got, not related to wrestling. I got it playing a different sport, and I was dealing with that injury and kind of some tendonitis and things like that for 2 years, and um, I it just kind of happened that it was my last day of physical therapy because I was discharged because I wasn't having any more pain. I had got all my strength back, and the same day that I was discharged from physical therapy for my knee, it was the same day as my first day of professional wrestling training, which was September 4th, 2015.
Oh, nice. Well, what brought you into? What made you want to get in though?
Man, I've been a fan since about 12 years old, which is kind of like the on the older side than what you typically see. People are like, I started watching wrestling when I was 3 or 4 or something like that. I started watching wrestling when I was 12. A family friend, their brother, was just watching SmackDown one day, and I was watching it with them, and I was like, "Whoa, like this is cool!" And there was something there that I just couldn't like um, I guess get rid of or whatever. So I had to continuously, watch SmackDown. And at the time, that was the only wrestling that I knew of, and it was on Thursday nights at that time, I believe. So would religiously watch Thursday night SmackDown. And I think one time I might have been flipping channels and on a Monday and got to Raw, and I was like, "Oh my God, what is this? Oh my goodness, it's the same company." So I was religiously watch Raw on Monday and SmackDown on Thursday, and then I might have been flipping channels maybe a couple of years later or something like that. It was 11 o'clock at nightish, and I was like, "What is Ring of Honor wrestling? What is that?" And so I clicked on that, and then me finding Ring of Honor was kind of my transition into indie wrestling because I had no idea about indie wrestling. I only knew WWE at the time. So once that kind of world was open, I was like, okay, hey, this is something that I can actually do. And I knew like from the first time I saw it, I was like, I knew, okay, like I need to do this, but I didn't know a way to get there. So once I discovered Ring of Honor and then the Indies, and then started doing more research, then I figured out, hey, there are wrestling schools. Some wrestling schools have their own independent wrestling promotion, like they have, monthly shows or whatever. And so I just kind of did my research, and that's how I got in. I researched the school that I went to initially, Ground Zero Pro Wrestling, which is now does not exist anymore. I found them maybe in high school, college-ish, and I just like did a Google search, and I found them, and they were 15 minutes away from my house. And when I was a sophomore in college, I took my mom to go check it out with me because I was like, "Mom, you'll have to pay for it," but I promise I'll stick with it, which I always did with most things growing up. And my mom went with me, and I remember I got this $50 off, like your first month card that I kept with me in my wallet, like all the time. And unfortunately, I tore my ACL. I wasn't able to start training back in, I think it was 2013 or something like that. Um, so then after I rehabbed, I still had the card. Had the card for like 2 years. It didn't expire. And my first day of pro wrestling training, I gave him the card, and he was like, the promoter, the owner, or whatever, and he was surprised that I still had the card. It was beat up and all of this, but I still had that because I was like, I'm gonna do this.
Nice. That's crazy though, because I feel like 2012, well, 2013 for me, I had just got out of the military, so like traveling and stuff, always trying to find ways. Like I remember living in Georgia, right? So I was in St. Mary's, Georgia, and I was trying to find my way into the sport as well, right? So I was looking for any way I can get in, and I didn't know anybody. And I was working at GameStop, and this one dude came in, and his name was Lance. And Lance was like, "Yeah, I'm a pro wrestler." I was like, how do I get involved? And he was just like, you don't want to get involved. It's like, what? I was like, I legit asked a question.
Go
And
land. No,
but then fast forward almost 6 years later, like I was talking to a friend of mine who, well, let's not play around the bush. He was in a place where no one talks about where you got your start from. So anyway, I I was like, yo, it's like, so I ended up meeting a random person who was like, well, let's get you to meet, your trainer. And next thing I know, like in January of 2020, I started, and I was like, I just turned 30. I was like, I'm 30. I'm turning 35 this year, bro. Like, I think I'm a little aged past my prime. And everybody's like, but DDP did at 36. I was like, I'm not DDP though.
that is a special case, but I will say, like, if you work hard, I mean, I'm sure everyone says this, but like, if you work hard, you make the correct connections and you keep your head on straight, you don't get involved in stupid shit, then like you shouldn't have a problem.
Facts. And that's the big thing for me. It's just like I want to sit back and like I have this cool ass show where I get to talk to people about all sorts of things all things that they go through. So I think it's very cool. But there's a perspective that I just want to get from you, right? Because you are like one of the most sought after talents, right? Like, let's be real, like you've been up and down the East Coast, out towards the Midwest, into Texas, right? And like for you being a Black woman in this industry, like what does that mean to you? And like how do you keep the bar pushing forward as you keep progressing?
Yeah, so I mean that means a lot to me, and it's not lost on me the pull that I could have, with fans or with fans or sorry, young kids that look up to me and things like that, or will look up to me. So that's always been very important to me. And in order to keep the bar moving, I just need to, get in more places and also stay true to myself. I remember, I think I might have been coming back from my ankle injury. So this was about 2019, and I needed to get new gear. And I remember just being like, okay, like I'm gonna just bite the bullet and, excuse me, get gear like Alexa Bliss, where like it's like the shorts are very short and like the ass is almost out, which is like that's great for her. I'm not throwing any shade or whatever. But I was like, in order to get booked more and to get noticed, like I need gear like that. And my wife was just like, you don't need that. Um like you have your own look and everything. Like if you really want to do it, like I'll support you, but you don't need that. Um and the gear actually ended up coming out like it didn't fit at all, but it was like longer than I wanted. And I actually like never used that gear. I was actually like really upset about that. But my wife actually stayed up like the day before I came back from my ankle injury making my gear, not the current gear that I have, but it was like the biker shorts and everything. And I think that was the first time I had worn the biker shorts, and I was like, this feels natural. So I almost went the kind of ass hanging out route, which again, it's fine for whoever does that, like no shade. I personally couldn't do it just because I'm very self-conscious and things like that. Um, but I'm glad I went the route that I did, and I'm glad that I didn't like, I guess for lack of a better term, like sell myself out to wear something that I thought would get me noticed more or more bookings, when that would not have been the case.
No, it's interesting because I feel like when I watch, like back in the day, right? Let's be real, from like the 90s and even in the 2000s, like there were just like one type of like women's match that you were watching, right? And where now, like, and if you're looking through the indies and you're looking through like in WWE now too, right? In AEW, like there's such a diverse cast of like people, right? Before it was always like, you're the diva, go out there and just like hand slap and then, roll each other up. And that's how you get your 3 count. Now we're seeing like, I don't want to call it the evolution because it's no longer like an evolution. It's just this giant magnet of like awesomeness that just attracts everybody to it. And it's like, it's cool to watch people like a Sasha Banks or or Alexa Bliss, right? Or you look at Dr. Britt Baker, or you look at yourself, or you look at Trisha Dora, right? You see like these monsters who are just taking over the industry, and it's like y'all tell like such great stories with so not them knocking the guys out there, but with some intensity that like cannot be matched. And I get hyped watching women's wrestling, and I'm just like, this is what like the 90s wrestling is equivalent to what this is and more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, well, thank you, and I appreciate that, and I mean, I'll put Trish over like I mean every day because she's just phenomenal. So, and I will say when you said Dr. Britt Baker, you forgot the DMD. I love that. I love that. I love her. I'm a fan. So I'm a fan at heart. So
But are we all really just fans? Like we really like I think I heard it from Gilbert, right? I was doing a seminar, I was taking one of his seminars, and he said that. He was like, listen, like we're all marks in this business. Otherwise we wouldn't be in this business. He's like, so be a mark. He's like, be professional, but be a mark. He's like, that's who you are.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I was having this conversation with somebody that I hate when wrestlers or people in the business use the term mark as a derogatory term because like you said, I mean, and I say this all the time, we are all marks because like if we weren't fans of this, like we wouldn't be in this business, and we have to be fans to be in this business because sometimes this business is so soul sucking. But yeah, I typically don't like it when wrestlers call fans marks or smarks or whatever, again in a derogatory sense, because then what were you at 10 years old? What were you at 6 years old?
Right.
So
I appreciate it when people tell me they're like, well, you're such a mark. I was like, yes, I am. 100%.
yeah,
Like, I don't care
I don't
what
know.
you.
And again, I mean, what Gilbert said, like, be professional. I've been in locker rooms with, Mercedes Martinez and I think like Deanna Purrazzo, and like I am fans of their work, but I don't go up to them and fangirling or anything. That's yeah, exactly. Like that's crazy. Not crazy, but like that's weird, and like we're all at work and we're all here to be professional. So there's a fine line there. But I was having a conversation with Mercedes Martinez at a show that we were on the same show together back in December, and we just had a normal conversation. And she came up to me, and started having a conversation with me. And yeah, I was like stoked that I'm having a conversation with Mercedes Martinez, but I'm also talking to her like a regular person. So
Facts. So I'm curious, like, seeing how we all have taken them, I just want to know what's the worst bump you've taken?
my God. um God, what is the worst bump I've taken? They're definitely there. So the two that come to mind, trying to think, the two that come to mind, Eel and I, or it might have been Eel and I, or Eel Trish and I can't remember. We wrestled Shook Crew at Beyond Wrestling, and they do this like, I guess it's kind of like a doomsday device, or maybe it's just straight up a doomsday device, where the person is on Bryce's shoulders, and Bryce is 6'10". He's not really 6'10", but he's very tall. And then Bobby Orlando climbs to the top rope and does the clothesline or whatever. So it's like an electric chair into a clothesline. But I'm scared of heights, and I get up on Bryce's shoulder, and I'm like, please get me down. I mean, there's only one way down, so that probably sucked. I didn't land on my neck or anything, but I was just scared of heights, so I was like, shit. So that was bad, and then surprisingly, so I had my match against Para at Effie's Big Gay Brunch. God, when was that? August of last year, something like that, September, in Chicago, and everything else was fine. He threw me through chairs. He threw me through a door. He like hit me with. I think he hit me with a chair. All that was fine. The one bump, I think I posted this maybe to my Instagram. The one bump that sucked was the choke slam right before he threw me through the door because if you look closely, I land on my shoulder.
Mm.
That fucking sucked. I had like shoulder issues for maybe like 3-4 weeks, not long. It's fine now, but it was like sprained a little bit. So like the choke slam, I land like directly on my shoulder, and that shit hurt. And then he threw me through a door, which was fine, but it was that choke slam that sucked.
You know, it's weird, like how nonchalant, like you say, like, yeah, he threw me through a door. It was fine. Like, you know,
That's what my wife says too.
it's because like I know what that feels like, and I'm like, yeah, like I've been thrown through a door, I've had but it's like the one, like it's just like the littlest bump that you take, and you're just like, yeah, no, that
Right.
sucked horribly.
Yeah.
But to like the average person, if you were like, yeah, I got thrown through a door, they're gonna be like, are you okay? Like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
exactly.
walked away from it, like no problem.
Right, yeah, exactly. I was telling people the week that I wrestled Akira, that Terminal Combat rules match for Paradigm a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was, out of everything I did that week, that was like the place where I got hurt the least. I had WWR Plus on Sunday where Riley Shepard kicked me in the jaw and my bite was off and my jaw hurt for like 2 weeks. And then I was in jiu-jitsu on Wednesday or Thursday, and my coach wanted to drill something, and he inverted, and he rolled over my foot, and you could hear every crack and pop, and I was like, what the fuck? If nothing was broken or sprained, but that shit still hurts. It's still giving me a little bit of issues because I'm not resting it like I should. And then I go have that match with Akira where he Death Valley drivers me onto some chairs and power bombs me through a door, and the worst that I got was like a little cut on my elbow.
Oh man. Okay, well then, like let's switch to gear though. So having all that stuff happen, what's the hardest you've ever been hit?
Hardest I've been hit. I've definitely been hit hard. I'm trying to think. Oh my goodness, why can't I like remember? I will say that women hit the hardest. They hit harder than the men because I think the men are scared to hit women. So I'm not saying all. So please don't use me as a test dummy.
No, yeah, there you go.
Oh my god, I can't even think. Uh, Suge D has some hard forearms. So Suge D, Masha hits hard. In a good way. Now, okay, never mind. I don't know how I forgot her because I wrestled her 6 times. Janai Kai.
Okay.
Janai Kai's kicks every single time, and I'm not complaining because I love it, but every single time I wrestle her, I come away with some bruises. Every time. Doesn't fail. I don't complain because I love it, but every single time.
Well, I recently
How
was
I
in a match.
forget her.
Well, I was like in a match recently, and I totally put his name out there. It's fine, TJ High. But what ended up happening was like he like acted like he'd like he hit me with a throat chop, and like I was selling it, and apparently he thought I was gonna take a step back, but instead like I took a step forward because I leaned in. So
Ooh.
to get me back, he just pow, just hit me, but I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. So
Straight up clocked you. Okay.
I go to the back and I was like, I'm like changing and stuff, and I blink and I was like, why is my eye hurt? And I was like, what happened? He goes, yeah, man, 100% my bad. Yeah, I just punched you.
Yeah, just straight up. Okay, well, that's one way to get somebody back. I mean, I guess.
Like, appreciate it? Like, I don't
Right.
know where this goes.
Yeah.
But it's super fun to work with, though. One of my favorite, actually, to be fair, he was my 2022 number one worker, person I wanted to work, and I got to actually work him. So I was super hyped about it and super honored to be in the same ring as TJ Sykes.
Oh yeah,
So,
he's
yeah,
good.
he's the man.
He does hurt too.
So we got to talk about it, right? So when you get done with the match, because this is something I definitely love talking about. So when you get done with the match, you get done with the show. What's that post-match meal, post-match snack you got to get into?
Oh my goodness, probably God, it I don't even have like a normal one. Probably just anything I can get my hands on. I mean, well, okay, maybe not anything. I know after Paradigm, we always go to Waffle House, like always, because that's always like the only thing that's open that's nearby. Because these Paradigm shows usually end at like midnight or 1 o'clock. Gary looking at you. um, so like whenever I'm out there, that's usually the post match meal. But I don't really have like a go to like post match snack or meal. I probably should, but I don't. I feel like most wrestlers do, but I don't.
I'll be honest. Like I was sitting at a couple different shows, right? So I've been at like EWA or at like HWF, and I call them my anxiety controllers. I just have like a bag of gummy bears, and I'm just like eating gummy bears for my pre-show.
Yes, I had gummy bears this past weekend. So yeah, I will say like when I'm on the way to shows, like definitely an energy drink. I mean, it is what it is. And then some that like almonds or cashews or something like that. So I have to have something sweet and something salty. I don't like them both together. Like I don't like chocolate covered pretzels or anything like that. I have to have them separate. Call me a child. I don't know, whatever. I don't care. But I can't have them together. I just don't like them like that. So yeah, I always have to have something sweet and something salty. So like sometimes it's like nuts or or like regular pretzels or something like that, and then sometimes it's like gummy bears. I always get a protein bar. But the sweet stuff is like gummy bears or um sometimes a protein bar because they're kind of sweet depending on the type. But yeah, always something sweet, always something salty, and an energy drink on the way up.
Okay, bet. So I'm curious, like, what's one of the hardest lessons that you've had to learn in the wrestling sport?
That's a good question. Oh my goodness, probably. Oh my God, probably to advocate for yourself because like professional wrestling likes to, and this is like with a lot of like niche things. So it's not solely just in pro wrestling, but I think pro wrestling tend like they have their kind of unspoken rules. And it's like, hey, you're not allowed to do this. Why? I'm an independent contractor, I'm not an employee. Like, why am I not allowed to do this? Like speak up for yourself because you're allowed to. Like literally no one can or should be allowed to keep you down. Like it kills me when promoters of these small indie wrestling promotions that also have schools, if you wrestle for them, they're like, oh, you can't wrestle at this other place simply because like they have beef with like the promoter or someone else who works there. How you gonna tell me what to do? I don't work for you. Like I'm not your employee. Like I wrestle for you, and like we have like this one rate, but like there is no contracts. So it kills me that people want to kind of take advantage of people that don't know like that much in the business. And I know it seems like if you do like for example, like if you do decide to go work for someone else, it may seem like the end of the world, and you don't want to lose your spot, or you don't want to like potentially like get blackballed or something like that. Like unless you do something stupid, but like I promise, like you're not gonna get blackballed, especially if it's like a promotion that like it's just like in your hometown and draws like 50 people. Like I'm not trying to be shitty, but like it really does not matter in the grand scheme of things. And it's probably for the best that you start to separate yourself from that promotion anyway. If they're going to talk to you like that, if they're going to treat you like that, if they're going to try to control you like that, because it's most likely not worth it.
No, I like that. I like that. So, guys, that's advocate for yourself. It's important.
You have to. You're the only one that's going to. I mean, you'll make your friends along the way, and I've been fortunate enough to make friends in this business that that I consider best friends now. I am very, very close with Riley Shepard. I'm very close with Janai Kai, Trisha Dora, um, Delmi Exo. Um, Sam Laterna. I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of, and obviously, my tag team partner, Ela O'Neill, to meet a lot of cool people in this business, people that I consider friends. Um, but that's probably the only other thing that I would say, like make your friends in this business. Not everybody's your friend. Not everybody is meant to be a best friend. Not everyone's meant to be a close friend. You'll have your acquaintances, and you'll have your close friends, and you'll have your best friends or whatever, just like in real life. But definitely make those friends in wrestling because it's definitely important. And I'm not even trying to say like, hey, like use them to get ahead. Don't do that. That's what networking is for. But like make your friends in this business because this business can get lonely, it can get tiresome, and you need those people that you can lean on and that understand the wrestling business and will also tell you like straight up like how it is, like, hey, why'd you do this in this match, like, hey, don't do that anymore because XYZ, or because you look stupid or whatever. So definitely find your people in this business, and whether that's a handful or whether that's a lot, it just kind of depends. But find your people in this business.
Oh man, I love that too. That's actually, I was gonna ask you like what kind of advice would you give to up and coming wrestlers, but that's like hands down like the best thing I've ever heard. Sorry
Yeah,
for everybody else, all the other episodes, but that's great advice. Like just find your friends
yeah,
and bounce your ideas. Find real friends who are gonna tell you like they're gonna be honest with you. They'll be maybe brutally honest, but they're gonna be honest with you about like what you're doing, and it's definitely important.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, Twitter's great. It's a great promotional tool, and I think wrestling fans now are like way nicer, and things like that. Like, because wrestling used to be, especially back in the day, like in the locker room and stuff, very harsh, and it's a lot of hazing and stuff going on. Um, but so Twitter can be a nice place as far as like, hey, like I loved your match was great, blah blah blah. But you have to look at it through two lenses. Like, Twitter can be great, but it also cannot be great. And I'm not even just talking about like the hecklers and stuff on Twitter that will hate everything that you're doing, or hate intergender wrestling or hate women's wrestling or whatever, what have you. There's times on Twitter where people would be like, "Oh my goodness, that was a great match," and it was not a great match. Like, so you have to be able to decipher, and that's what those friends are for.
Awesome. I like it. All right. So, seeing how you have traveled around and you've been up and down and you've been all over this great state, I need one do and one don't of the locker room.
Oh my God, I'm trying to think. Oh my goodness gracious. This is very simple, but do clean up after yourself in the locker room. Don't leave stuff around. That's not my don't. Don't. God, I'm trying to friggin' think. I've been in pretty good locker rooms. Um, God. Don't disappear when people ask for a ring set up or tear down. People have seen you all day and then you disappear when that happens.
Yeah.
Look, it's nobody's favorite thing to do. I get it, but it needs to be done. So more hands on deck, the better. The quicker you can get in and out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if they tell you like they don't need your help, just find a way to help.
Exactly. People are always watching. So you definitely got to keep those impressions up.
So, I want to talk about something. It's coming up, right? And I think it might have already happened by the time this episode comes out. So probably not. I don't know. It's whenever I release it. But you are a part of something that I got to witness like on a ground floor get built, right? So March 26th, you're going to be in Invictus and you're going to be a part of the 8 City Open and you're representing Team DC, and sort of been out there with Moses as well as Mr. Grimm. Me, I'm a Baltimore person myself, so I got to lock it down for the boys from the Baltimore City. But yo, like, how excited are you to be a part of something like this massive? Because this card, top to bottom, is just ridiculously awesome.
Yeah, so I'm looking at these teams. I'm like, damn, like any of these teams could win, you know? And this is like a really cool concept too. I don't think, to my knowledge, that this has been done. I have the memory of a goldfish, so I could definitely be wrong. So, yeah, I don't think this has been done before, especially in a trio sense. So Invictus, I think, is really doing something very cool and innovative with this eight city open. I will say, because I had this thought when I was looking at the 8 teams. I don't think you there's any other team on this or in this show rather that's more intimidating than Team DC.
Yeah, I mean, people who know Mr. Grimm, people who know yourself, and people who know Moses, like, yeah, it's just a force of people. You're just kind of like, I'm not trying to talk to them. I'm just going to like shimmy by and hope they don't.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I mean like every single person like in Team DC is intimidating. Not just one, not just two, all three.
Yeah. So I was looking through it and I saw, and as everybody was getting their announcements and their names called up, and I was like, yo, I was like, I hope they run this next year because your boy definitely going to try to get a part of that team and be.
Hey, let's go, let's do it.
But those are really kind of like all my heavy hitting questions. So we do got to get into the second best segment of the 3 Count Podcast questions. People ask what's the first. Listen, it's right here. The Red Dogs Power Rankings that you can find every Sunday on our debate show. But this is the 3 Count Podcast 10 Count Questions. And Jordan, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. Whatever's your answer is your answer.
All right, let's go. All right.
So I'm going to put on the imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing! And here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Raw.
Favorite movie?
Mean Girls.
Yes. Let's go. Marvel or DC?
Ooh, I don't do comic books, so I'm so sorry my wife does. So I'm gonna say Marvel, just as throwing it out there.
That's fine. All right. Favorite color?
Blue.
TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Favorite submission?
Ankle lock.
A night owl or early bird?
Early bird.
Favorite podcast?
Oh God. Oh my goodness. Favorite podcast. Crime Junkie.
Yes. Let's go. Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Trishadora.
Yes, please. And then, last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show: favorite curse word?
Fuck.
I just try to tell people a good F-bomb is what you need in this life.
Yes.
Bet. So those are all my questions. So the last thing I need from you, Jordan, just let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Hey, so you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Jordan_Blade92. You can also buy my merch. I have a What a Maneuver store, What a Maneuver /Jordan-Blade. And that's where you can find me. I have a ton of dates coming up within the next couple weeks. I'm super excited. I have Paradigm this Friday. I make my debut at Bree Combination Wrestling this Saturday, and myself and Eel will be at WWR Plus this Sunday, taking on ? Because that hasn't been announced yet. And next Saturday, I will be at 2 shows. I have Invictus, the 8 City Open, what we were just talking about next Saturday, 26th. I also will be at Pro Wrestling Magic taking on Jay George, who is the understudy of Erica Lee, who is challenging me for my Pro Wrestling Magic Women's Championship. It's all going to be a blur, and I'm really excited. So hopefully I will see you guys at one of those shows.
Bet. And there you have it. And like every good match, we got to take it home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering Ring. And like I said, I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. That's right. You could call me your Sherpa, but like every good Sherpa, you got to have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. And that's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. And today, you see her right next to me. It's the incredibly talented, the Trap Daddy herself, Jordan Blade. And you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you just wait for this episode to end. You wait for that outro, and then you choose another episode to listen to. Peace. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3 Count _ pod. Give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3 Count pod. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give a subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm / the 3 Count podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3 Count podcast also has merchandise. Oh! At prowrestlingtees.com / the 3 Count pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So show us some support, please.